Random Crowd presents 10 Dark Psychology Traits to Stay Away From. Dark psychology refers to a set of techniques that are used to manipulate and control people for personal gain. In this video, we will discuss 10 dark psychology traits that you should be aware of and avoid. Trait number 1, manipulation. The first trait is manipulation. Manipulation refers to the ability to influence and control others to act in a certain way without their consent. This can be done through various techniques such as emotional manipulation, guilt-tripping, or lying. Manipulators often have a hidden agenda and use others for their own benefit. One form of manipulation is emotional manipulation. This involves using emotional appeals, guilt-tripping, or playing on someone's insecurities or fears to get them to do what the manipulator wants. Emotional manipulators might use tactics like making the person feel responsible for the manipulator's feelings or problems, withholding affection or attention as a form of punishment, or using false flattery or praise to gain the person's trust and compliance. Emotional manipulation can be difficult to recognize, but it can be just as damaging as other forms of manipulation, as it can erode a person's self-esteem and sense of autonomy. Trait number 2, gaslighting. The second trait is gaslighting. Gaslighting is a form of psychological abuse where the abuser makes the victim doubt their own perception and experiences. The abuser may deny certain events, manipulate facts, or even change the victim's memories to make them doubt their own sanity. This can be a very dangerous and destructive form of manipulation. Here's an example of gaslighting. John is a new employee at a company, and his boss, Sarah, has been giving him mixed signals about his performance. One day, Sarah compliments John on his work and tells him he's doing a great job. The next day, however, she criticizes him for a minor mistake and tells him he needs to improve. When John tries to discuss his confusion with Sarah, she tells him that he's overreacting and that he's not remembering things correctly. She says that she's been consistent in her feedback and that he's the one who's being inconsistent. Over time, Sarah continues to give John conflicting messages about his performance, and he starts to doubt his own abilities and perceptions. He becomes anxious and stressed, wondering if he's doing things right and if he's going crazy. In this example, Sarah is gaslighting John by making him doubt his own abilities and perceptions. By giving him conflicting feedback and denying that she's doing anything wrong, she's able to control him and keep him in a state of confusion and self-doubt. Trait number 3, deception. The third trait is deception. Deception involves using lies or half-truths to mislead others for personal gain. Deception can be used to gain power, control, or financial gain. Deceptive people often have a charming and convincing personality that can make it difficult to detect their lies. An example of deception is when a used car dealer sells a car that has a history of significant mechanical problems without disclosing that information to the buyer. The dealer might use various deceptive tactics to hide the car's history, such as tampering with the odometer or concealing past repair work. The buyer, unaware of the car's problems, might believe they are getting a good deal on a reliable vehicle, only to find out later that they have been deceived and the car needs expensive repairs. In this example, the dealer has intentionally misled the buyer through deception, withholding information that would have influenced the buyer's decision to purchase the car. Trait number 4, intimidation. The fourth trait is intimidation. Intimidation involves using fear, threats, or force to control or influence someone's behavior. This can be done through physical violence, verbal abuse, or even psychological manipulation. Intimidation can be very effective in gaining control over others, but it is also very damaging to the victim's mental health. Example of intimidation is when an employer threatens to fire an employee if they refuse to work overtime without pay. The employer may use their authority and power to pressure the employee into working extra hours, even though it goes against labor laws or the terms of the employee's contract. The employee may feel coerced and afraid of losing their job, so they agree to work the overtime without being compensated. In this example, the employer is using intimidation to exploit the employee's fear of losing their job, and to avoid paying them fairly for their time and labor. Trait number 5, Machiavellianism. The fifth trait is Machiavellianism. Machiavellianism is a tendency to be highly strategic and manipulative, putting personal gain above all else. People with this trait are often willing to do whatever it takes to achieve their goals, even if it means manipulating or hurting others. Machiavellianism is often associated with narcissism and psychopathy. An example of Machiavellianism is a politician who uses deceitful tactics to win an election. They may make promises they have no intention of keeping, engage in negative campaigning to discredit their opponents, and use their charisma and charm to manipulate voters into supporting them. Once elected, the politician may continue to use Machiavellian tactics to maintain their power and influence, such as lying to the public or breaking promises to their constituents. In this example, the politician is prioritizing their own interests and goals over the needs and desires of the people they represent, using any means necessary to achieve their desired outcome. Trait number 6, narcissism. The sixth trait is narcissism. Narcissism refers to a tendency to prioritize one's own needs and desires above others. Narcissists often lack empathy for others and have an inflated sense of self-importance. They may manipulate others to get what they want and can be very charming and charismatic. For instance, a person who is a narcissist may insist on always being the center of attention, constantly interrupting conversations or dominating discussions with stories about themselves. They may also belittle others or make derogatory comments to make themselves feel superior. They may manipulate and exploit others for their own gain, without regard for the harm it may cause. In romantic relationships, a narcissist may demand excessive attention and admiration from their partner, while showing little empathy or consideration for their partner's feelings. They may be controlling and possessive and become angry or aggressive if their partner tries to assert their own needs or independence. Overall, a narcissist's behavior is characterized by a lack of empathy, a sense of entitlement, and a need for constant admiration and attention from others. Trait number 7, sociopathy. The seventh trait is sociopathy. Sociopathy is a lack of empathy and disregard for the rights of others. People with this trait may engage in impulsive and irresponsible behavior, and they may not feel guilt or remorse for their actions. Sociopaths may also be skilled at manipulating and deceiving others. Sociopathy is a personality disorder characterized by a disregard for the rights and feelings of others, impulsivity, and a lack of empathy or remorse. An example of sociopathy is someone who repeatedly engages in criminal behavior, without feeling guilty or showing empathy for the harm they cause to others. For instance, a person who is a sociopath may engage in activities such as theft, fraud, or violence, without regard for the law or the well-being of their victims. They may lie, manipulate, and exploit others for their own gain, without feeling any remorse or guilt. They may also be impulsive and prone to risky or dangerous behavior, such as drug abuse or reckless driving. In relationships, a sociopath may use charm and manipulation to gain trust and control over their partner, while showing little empathy or concern for their partner's feelings or well-being. They may engage in abusive behavior, such as emotional manipulation, gaslighting, or physical violence, without feeling any remorse or responsibility for their actions. Overall, sociopathy is characterized by a pattern of antisocial behavior, impulsivity, and a lack of empathy or remorse, which can have harmful and damaging effects on others. Trait number 8, sadism. The eighth trait is sadism. Sadism refers to enjoying the suffering of others, either physically or emotionally. Sadistic people may engage in behaviors such as bullying, torture, or abuse. They may also enjoy watching violent or disturbing content. For instance, a sadistic person may engage in acts of animal cruelty, such as torturing or killing animals, for their own pleasure. They may also engage in physical violence or bullying towards others, enjoying the pain and fear they cause in their victims. In some cases, sadistic behavior may be sexual in nature, with the individual deriving pleasure from causing pain or humiliation during sexual encounters. Sadistic behavior can have serious and harmful consequences for both the individual engaging in the behavior and their victims. It is often associated with other psychological disorders, such as antisocial personality disorder or psychopathy. Treatment for sadism typically involves therapy and behavioral interventions aimed at reducing violent or aggressive behavior and promoting empathy and compassion towards others. Trait number 9, Schadenfreude. The ninth trait is Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude refers to taking pleasure in the misfortune of others. People with this trait may feel satisfaction when others fail or experience setbacks. Schadenfreude is often associated with envy and a desire to see others fail. For instance, if a coworker who has always been competitive and critical of their work fails to get a promotion, someone who experiences Schadenfreude may feel a sense of satisfaction or pleasure at their misfortune. They may feel that the coworker deserved the setback because of their negative behavior towards others, and that justice has been served. While schadenfreude is a natural human emotion, it can have negative effects on interpersonal relationships and overall well-being. It can lead to feelings of resentment and hostility towards others, and may prevent individuals from developing empathy and compassion towards others. It is important to be aware of these feelings and to strive to cultivate empathy and compassion towards others, even in difficult or challenging situations. Trait number 10, exploitation. The 10th and final trait is exploitation. Exploitation is the final dark psychology trait we will discuss today. Exploitation involves taking advantage of others for personal gain without regard for their well-being. This can be done in many different ways, such as financially, emotionally, or sexually. One common form of exploitation is financial exploitation, where someone takes advantage of another person's financial situation for their own benefit. This can include things like fraud, scams, and stealing. Exploiters often target vulnerable individuals who may be less likely to notice or report the abuse. In conclusion, these 10 dark psychology traits, manipulation, gaslighting, deception, intimidation, Machiavellianism, narcissism, sociopathy, sadism, schadenfreude, and exploitation, are all forms of manipulation and control that can be incredibly damaging to the victim's mental and physical health. It is important to be aware of these traits and to take steps to protect yourself from those who may use them for personal gain. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe.